I'm Kelsey, the Naptime Chef. Happy New Year! The holiday season is over and we're in winter full swing here in New York City. Today I'm going to show you how to make a great winter meal for your family, artichoke lasagna. My friend Barbara and I have been working on this recipe for a long time. It was inspired by one written by Marcella Hazan, the great godmother of Italian cooking in America. Her recipe calls for making several sheets of homemade pasta dough and lots of trimming artichokes by hand. And it tastes delicious, but I don't know any parent who has the time to do that in their own kitchen. So I've adapted the recipe to make it manageable to do in a time frame like during the child's nap time or in the evenings. So let's get started. I have 2 tablespoons of butter melting over medium to low heat in my pan and 18 ounces of frozen artichoke hearts cut into bite-sized pieces. Marcella's recipe calls for trimming artichokes by hand, but I really don't have the time to do that, so I buy frozen artichoke hearts instead, and they taste just as delicious. So I'm going to put the artichokes in the butter and stew them around to give them a little bit of flavor. I've stewed the artichoke hearts in the butter for about 4 minutes. They've softened nicely and absorbed all the butter, so I'm going to leave it sitting right here on the pan with the heat turned off and move on to the bechamel sauce. For this recipe, I like to use a basic bechamel sauce with butter, flour, whole milk, and salt and pepper. We start by melting 8 tablespoons of butter over low heat until it's completely melted. So our butter is completely melted and I have 8 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. I'm going to whisk it into the butter and cook it for about 3 to 4 minutes so that raw flour taste goes away. When you're making a roux like this, it's important to keep whisking because you don't want the butter or the flour to burn, and that can happen quite easily. So keep your heat on medium-low and be patient and cook it for about 4 minutes. Now we're going to add 4 cups of whole milk. Keep whisking as you add it because you want the sauce and the butter and the flour to get totally incorporated. And keep the heat on medium-low because as you keep whisking, the sauce is going to thicken up into a nice creamy bechamel white sauce. For a little additional flavor while I'm here whisking, I'm going to add a few pinches of salt and cranks of pepper. I happen to like that flavor. Some people also like to add a bay leaf for extra flavor or a fresh grated nutmeg. It really depends on what you're making, so you can flavor it to suit your taste. The key to making a white sauce is being patient. For a while it seems like it's not going to come together, and it does pretty quickly. You also have to really be good about stirring because you don't want anything on the bottom to burn, or then you're going to have a sauce that tastes like burnt milk. So now that this is thickened up nicely, you can see it's no longer the consistency of milk, but a really saucy, almost like cream. We can turn off the heat and start to assemble the lasagna. And I have a 9x13 baking dish here with tall sides. The tall sides are useful so the sauce doesn't spill over into your oven. First we're going to start with putting a small layer of the sauce on the bottom below the noodles. This will help prevent it from sticking while it's baking. Now one of my other time savers in making lasagna is using no-boil noodles. I buy Ronzoni or the Berea brand, either are fine. They're inexpensive and this saves a lot of time and hassle. This way you don't have to boil the noodles on the stove and drain them and then assemble the lasagna. These bake beautifully and they work really well with this recipe. So here we have our layer of 4 noodles. We're going to start with a layer of sauce and then a layer of the artichokes and then a little smattering of Parmesan cheese. Now that we've completed the first layer, I'm going to put another layer of noodles and repeat everything I just did until we are all finished. So my second layer of artichokes and bechamel sauce is complete and I've put the final layer of noodles on. I'm going to cover this liberally with the bechamel sauce. It's really important to do this when using no-boil noodles because the no-boil noodles utilize the moisture in the sauce to bake themselves, and that will be the same thing as boiling them in the water. The top layer is covered completely with bechamel sauce. I'm going to sprinkle on a little bit more Parmesan for good measure. Then we're going to put it in the oven that's been preheated to 350 degrees and let it bake for 45 minutes. Then what I'll do tonight is I'll reheat it for dinner. Now, you could also cover it and put it in the refrigerator and bake it at dinner time if that's what you prefer. Either way works out wonderfully. My lasagna is all ready for the oven, and while it's baking, I'm going to go and get some other stuff done around the house. Unfortunately, this means I have to take down our Christmas decorations until next year. It's always a sad thing for me to do. I love the holidays so much. but at least we have a good dinner to look forward to. And best of all, this dinner will last us for 2 nights, so tomorrow I can get some baking done during nap time. I'm Kelsey the Naptime Chef. Thanks for cooking with me. I look forward to seeing you again soon.